with your new friend Ty.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's the podcast where you find new friends and new music. And this week I'm joined by a Nashville do-it-yourselfer who you might recognize from the TV show American Supergroup, or maybe you've come across one of her 7 independent chart number ones. Please welcome to the show, Justine Blazer. How the heck are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And guys, before we get too far into it, we want to let you know that we have teamed up with Audible in December as a thank you to everybody that supports this show. This month, you can get an absolutely free audiobook and access to things like podcasts, wellness lessons, and of course, access to everything on the Audible platform, including their humongous online library, and you get a free credit. If you're interested, head over to audibletrial.com/teaparty. That's audibletrial.com/TEEPARTY and sign up for your absolutely free trial today.
It's time to tee off with Ty and today's guest, Justine Blazer. Here comes the first 4.
And now it's time for the first question. What is your favorite song?
Oh my gosh, my favorite song would have to be Over the Rainbow by Judy Garland from The Wizard of Oz.
Ooh, good pick.
Yes.
How about this? What was your high school mascot?
We were the Chiefs.
Simple. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's a little bit tougher for everybody. If you could go on tour with anybody, alive or dead, who would it be?
Man, there's just so many people I would love to tour with. I'm kind of a nostalgic person. I love kind of just the old time. So it'd be like either Frank Sinatra. I don't know if you'd even want me on the road, but Judy Garland, she was so amazing. I love her stuff. And anyone that's really from that older era, I'm fascinated with how they did stuff back then. So pretty much anyone in that era, but it's a close tie to probably Reba McEntire. I love her too, so that's a tough question.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
The last question of the first 4. What is your favorite song to play for people?
My favorite song to play for people would be, I like Pioneer Soul Shaker. That's one of my originals, and I really like the message with that song. It's very empowering. I also like... there's a song called Cigarettes and Secrets, which is just a really cool tune as well. But once again, that's like asking your favorite child. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So there's so many songs I love playing. It just really depends on the day. But out of the originals, and then I also love my new one, Just Sing. So.
And we do have that one for everybody here in a little bit. And that's kind of a good transition here out of the first 4. And now I want to move on to talking about you. Give us kind of the Cliff Notes version of growing up and how you started playing music.
Sure, absolutely. So I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. My dad worked for Ford Motor Company and my mother owned a dance studio. So I pretty much grew up in the performing arts at a very young age. My mother was a professional dancer and she was also a model. And she just kind of put my sister and I in all that kind of stuff from the time we were 2 years old. We were doing pageants and modeling and dancing and singing and piano and theory and guitar and musical theater. I did performing arts camps in the summer. I did, theater stuff. I just did it all. I honestly, I loved it. And I just kept bugging my mom for, anything I could do. I had a vocal coach at 6 years old. I worked with them for many, many years. I started recording when I was 12. So I just basically wanted to go in the studio, start recording an EP. And I just loved it. I wanted to be anything that would let me be out there. That's what I wanted to do. And then after high school, I went to college, but I wasn't really the best college student. I was grammatically I was good. I had good grades and stuff, but I was so not involved in that. I was very, very touch and go. And this is kind of when they were doing online stuff, but I would just miss a lot of class and I was traveling a lot. So I was living in New York and I was doing stuff out there and doing auditions for different things and studying dance out there. And then I was traveling for, 6 years. I was modeling for the car shows. So I did everything from like the LA, car show, like the International Auto Show, to Boston, to New York, to Detroit, to Miami, to Portland, to Texas. I mean, I was everywhere, just travel. And then in the meantime, I was getting my band together and recording my albums and doing my music and really building my fan base. And then I ended up in Nashville 10 years ago, and I've been here ever since, just doing the Nashville thing. So, I started off doing a lot of touring stuff. Then I started playing more in town, or I was just doing a lot more in town type of performances. And in these last few years, I've really, kind of dove into the production aspect of it and developing artists and writing for artists and stuff like that. So, and I still do my own music. So it's just kind of doing more stuff. So,
well, and to circle back, is it true that you kind of got your first big step up in music by winning a Battle of the Bands contest?
Well, it's really a blurry line, to be honest. So I guess that's kind of like the best way to sort of define my sort of national sort of presence, because before that, it was a lot of local stuff, so I was just doing a lot of local things, opening for this artist and doing that festival and that, bar and whatever. And so it was sort of like a process where I felt like I had to kind of go through that, but it wasn't really the catapulted thing that could really get me to that national spotlight until I won that competition. So it was something where I was now on more of a national stage, and I was working with like a corporate type sponsor, and they had me do all type of events. I did the National Finals Rodeo in Vegas 3 years in a row. I sang at the Texas State Fair, the Austin Rodeo at their headquarters. So they had me do a lot of great performances and a lot of opportunities from that one little contest that was just like a Facebook thing. And it also, we won some money with that too, so kind of helped pay for more promotion and that kind of thing. So, but I really wasn't until like 2013, that's when my album Gasoline came out. And that was really the year that I felt was like my biggest year in terms of like artist success, if that makes sense, where I was able to do a lot of touring. I was over in Europe. I did stuff over there. I had charted on the Music Row charts. We were on GAC, TNN, Zeus, Country Network, like all of the big platforms. And so I went and I was 100% doing artist stuff. I wasn't producing yet. So that was probably like my biggest year, as an artist. And then now it's kind of like transitioned into where I'm at right now.
Well, and you've been putting out music, you mentioned it, for quite a while now, and even kind of before Spotify and even Apple streaming were really huge. You were still out there releasing music. What are some of the biggest things that you've seen change from the first time that you put out a single to putting out Just Sing Now? That maybe somebody out there that's starting, getting their start can kind of learn from.
Well, when I was really kind of coming up and I've been doing this roughly like 15 years. So it was probably like the mid 2000s. And we put out CDs, like you have your CD run, I would do 1,000 CDs at a time. I used to work with disc makers, and, it was a lot of hands-on type of stuff. So, I would have a merch area. I would do a meet and greet. I would, do pictures with the fans and the people that came out to the shows. And there was a lot more interaction and tangible type of stuff. And then all of those people, kind of followed me into the sort of social media world that we're in. But I did all of that before all of that even existed. And so I guess I applied a lot of the same principles, and like really down to the basic core stuff that I don't think a lot of artists even think about now, because it never was something that they had to do. So me growing up with that was the only way that you did it. You had CDs, you had, posters you signed, you had real tangible things that gave that human emotion, that human interaction where people remember you versus like a stream or a social media post. I mean, it's impactful, but it doesn't have the amount of power that it used to have, like back when you could actually shake someone's hand and sign their CD in person, And so the only people that are kind of doing that still are like huge concerts. But even now with COVID and everything, you can't even do that either. So it's just, I feel like it's really been a big disconnect from like what it used to be. However, the streaming platforms and all that stuff, it's very powerful, and you can definitely utilize it a lot. I personally am on those things just to be on them, just because I know that's kind of where we are with the times. But I personally don't love those platforms. I love having a CD and being able to sell it, or selling like a vinyl or something like that. That to me feels like you're really connecting with the fan, versus just like, here, stream my song. Like, I just don't feel like there's that emotional connection like it used to have, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And I am a huge fan of vinyl. And it's kind of funny. I bought a record player a few years ago, and my parents were like, why? We moved away from that. You can get that on your phone now, right? I'm like, it's not the same. It's not the same streaming something as it is hearing something on a record or even on a CD.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like a true effort of someone who actually buys a vinyl like yourself, and buys a player or a CD even, and, sits down and puts it on and presses play and has to just be still and listen to the music and really submerge themselves, which I don't think we are doing as much as we used to. The era of just like sitting down and like laying on your floor, like listening to an EP or an LP is like gone, and we're just kind of doing these quick pastime kind of processes of just like whatever's on our Spotify playlist or our Apple playlist or Amazon playlist or whatever, and it's great and convenient. But once again, we just talk about like the disconnect, and so you really got to search hard and wide for like the true music fans like yourself that are still doing that, and they're out there, but they're like a dying breed.
We really are. We're trying to bring them back, but it's it's so much easier just to yell at Alexa to play whatever you want Alexa to play at that.
I know. It's so true. And I do it myself. I mean, we do have great technology and the conveniences of this stuff. But once again, it's just one of those things where, we do have a little bit of that disconnect. So.
Absolutely. And as somebody that kind of does everything for herself, I want to pivot a little bit and talk about your songwriting for a bit. To start, how would you describe your sound to somebody that's never heard you before? Because even though this is mainly a country music podcast, your music can fit into so many different genres. Kind of every song can fit into different genres.
Yeah, it's true. Even when I was just starting off, back in the day, I remember like MySpace. I don't know if you remember that at all. But that was like a huge thing we use all the time. And underneath your name for MySpace, you could put your genre. And I remember I always put myself as like multi-genre, because I really didn't know how to define myself, because I grew up listening to so many different things, and I could not pick just one style to sing, because I love singing all of it, So for like marketing purposes, it made sense for me to kind of stick with the country thing back when I was living in Detroit, because there wasn't that many country singers. So for me to be kind of a rarity from like a marketing standpoint, it was able for me to like get ahead and be like the female country artist, because like no one else was doing that like back when I was, getting going. So even though I love everything, and I would always try to write stuff that was just so like broad, but I'd always find a little bit of a sprinkle to keep it that country vibe, whether it's like throwing fiddle in there or banjo or whatever, just to maintain that country labeling,
That makes total sense, especially, the world of MySpace was such a, wild west time that, just trying to do what you could like that to stand out, I think really, might have made the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what does your songwriting process look like? Are you somebody that sits down with a melody or lyrics, or it kind of depends?
Yeah, so it's really changed a lot over the years. I used to do a lot of writes. First of all, I wrote all by myself for many, many years. And it wasn't until I got to Nashville till I started doing co-writes. That was kind of a new thing for me. So it was sort of a learning curve in the beginning because I had to kind of sit in a room with someone and like you sort of feed off, the ideas that they bring, and you're kind of, it's this weird sort of tone sometimes because you just don't really know, like, do I take the lead? Do I kind of drive the boat? Do I sort of sit back? But it's gotten a lot easier over the years, just like doing it over and over and over again. And I like to write with the same people now. So I like to know who I'm writing with, and I like to kind of have like, sort of a general idea. But I do write with a lot of my clients that I produce. So that's always a cool experience. But I'm usually letting them kind of take the lead on what they want for their vision. So I'm just sort of supporting their sort of thing. If it's something that I'm writing for myself, I'm going in there with a pretty clear like vision of what I want, but I'm usually sitting down either, if I play the piano, I do write a little bit differently than if I was just playing the guitar. Sometimes I'm actually just like writing something off of like a sample on my synth, or I'm doing a beat or whatever. And that will inspire the song, but I try not to overthink it. I try not to overplan it. I just kind of like sit in the moment and just let it come out however it comes out. I'm pretty fast with it. I can write a song within like 45 minutes, finished. And so I don't like to drag out that process and overthink stuff. And, there's a lot of people that do that, and that's great, but that's not the way I like to do it. I like just kind of knock it out and don't question it. It's just how you were in that moment and that point in time in your life. And, if it's a great song, great. If it's a bad song, then who cares? And you just keep writing another one. And, so you just repeat that process. But I think the biggest mistake people have is they like overthink stuff or overchange it, or they like rework stuff. And there's an extent you can do that too. But at the end of the day, it's like if you have to force it, it's just not going to be an authentic sound, and it might not be the best song.
No, absolutely. And you actually put out a song earlier this month. It's called Just Sing. And give us the story about how this song came about and what the writing process was like for this song.
Yeah, so that came out December 7th, and my video comes out January 4th, so stay tuned for that. And we're actually going to be working radio the first week of January. Right now we're on pause because of the holidays. But so basically I wrote this back in August with Melissa Lee, and she, I've known Melissa for a while. She was over at MC1. She's a writer and artist herself. And she just, we just kind of like sat down at the piano, and I just started like playing, the chords that you hear. And I think either it's her or me, we just had this idea of like the Just Sing sort of analogy, where it's just like, let go of whatever you're, sort of thinking with this whole pandemic. This year has been insane. And, I feel like my voice was somewhat silenced this year because I was singing so much before the shutdown, and I was playing a ton, in town on Broadway, and then I wasn't. So for me, it was just an opportunity to just channel that emotion, channel that feeling of that day, and, have a song. And I'm really proud of this song. I really am. It's one of my best, I feel like it's one of my best accomplishments as a writer, as a producer, as a singer. And I put out a lot of songs, but this one is like by far my most favorite, if not the most favorite. It really is special to me, this song.
Well, here, let's let everybody take a listen to it. This one is called Just Sing. It's brand new music from Justine Blazer.
I'm growing tired, I'm feeling weak. This world is hard and it's taking a toll on me. But I got a voice and I know how to use it. In these dark times, I feel like I lose it. Gonna raise my voice, gonna sing about love, gonna share my gift that was sent from above. Gonna make you feel when you numb the pain. Gonna knock these walls, gonna break these chains. Raise it a little bit louder, the notes fuel my power. Every lyric that a song helps me keep holding on. lungs and words roll from my lips and my tongue and healing hearts and souls. Don't forget to use your voice and just sing. My voice may break, quiver and shake, but keep love alive and diminish the hate. Gonna raise my voice, gonna sing about love, gonna share my gift that was sent from up above. Gonna make you feel when you numb the pain. Gonna knock these walls, gonna break these chains. Raise it a little bit louder, the notes feel my power. Every lyric that a song helps me keep holding on. Express from the top of my lungs and words roll from my lips and my tongue and healing hearts and souls. Don't forget to use your voice and just sing. Gonna make you feel when you numb the pain. Gonna knock these walls, gonna break these chains. Raise it a little bit louder, the notes feel my power. Every lyric that a song helps me keep holding on. Express from the top of my lungs and words roll from my lips and my tongue and healing hearts and souls. Don't forget to use your voice and just sing. Oh, just
And that one was Just Sing by Justine Blazer. And that song came out, like we were saying, in early December. The music video coming out in January. And it's the first song that you released after signing with Sony for distribution, right?
Yes. So I have been with MC1 unofficially for like over a year now. I've been writing with them and Corey Lee Barker and Randy Barnett and all of them. And I've been producing a lot of their artists and I've been writing for a lot of their sync stuff. And so I've just kind of become like pretty tight in that whole circle. And Darlene Fowler, she's great. Her and I just clicked really like from day one. And she talked about this last year and I was just kind of like, I don't know, if I really have anything that I want to promote at this time. So I did Plague back in April, and that was kind of a weird situation because the song was called Plague and we had written it like 6 months prior to the Plague. And so I put it out because it's just like you sort of have to, but I got a little bit of backlash because people thought like, oh, you're trying to capitalize on coronavirus and you're trying to capitalize on like COVID-19, and I was like, no, I really didn't. Like this stuff is usually planned like months in advance and it's just the timing was weird. So I sort of went into that with like, oh gosh. So when I finished Just Sing, I had done everything myself. I produced it myself and mixed it and did the video myself. I hired a videographer and then I did the video myself, and I just love to be like hands-on in all aspects of it. And I finished it, and then I felt like, okay, let me bring this in. So I brought it in to Darlene, and they loved it. I mean, it was like, let's go, let's roll with this. And so I signed like the next day. It was just like a really last minute thing. But at the time, I was still like, it wasn't last minute in the context of like we've been wanting to do this for a while, if that makes sense. But then finally, I had something ready to go, and then I signed like I'm going to be with them for the next like year and a half. So that's gonna be really exciting. I'm going to be doing this thing, obviously this single, and then a few more coming up as well. And then I have a couple other projects that I'm working on with them. So it's just really exciting to to have like a family and a home base, and just, you know, having a little bit of extra push with the whole Sony stuff and the Play MPE and the Billboard stuff. And, you know, they have a lot of different things that they're involved in, and it just really helps because I usually have had to pay all that stuff myself in the past. And now it's just, they're able to like help like they cover all the cost of that stuff. So it's great, you know, so it's really, really helpful.
Well, and where can people keep up with what you have going on in, you know, 2021 and beyond? What are your socials and your website?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on all the social medias, you know, the Instagrams, the Facebook. I'm on Twitter a little bit, and I just started using TikTok, even though I'm really not good at it. But at any rate, but yeah, just search my name, Justine Blazer. That's pretty much my handles, and then you can also go to my website, JustineBlazer.com. It has links to all my other stuff. So,
well, and anybody that goes to your website can immediately tell that you are far more than just an artist. Like I've been saying, you kind of do everything. You're a producer as well. And I don't get to ask this question often enough, but what's something that a new or even a veteran artist should know before stepping into the studio?
Yeah, so preparation is absolutely key, and also knowing who you are as an artist, knowing what you want to say, what you want to sing about. The thing that I don't like, and I see it a lot, not just with myself and my artists, but the other artists too, is like the kind of like puppet, if that makes sense. Like they don't really know who they are, what to do, and they have to be kind of told like every single thing along the way. And it's like, I get that to an extent, but you should be like, this is who I am. This is my sound. This is what I want to say. And then my job is to enhance that. So, you know, a lot of times if it's like I'm having to start like the whole crafting process from scratch, I can do it, but it's harder because it's more of a foundational type of thing. And so it's really, really great when they have a true vision. They know who they want to market to. They know what their sound is. And then I can just enhance that and tweak it, and I'm like the icing on the cake versus like the bread and the butter, if that makes sense, you know. So, but I've been on all sides of the spectrum. I mean, I've had some things where I'm just kind of adding a little bit of my creativity to it, to full on like starting from ground zero type of stuff. So just being as like, I guess when you're starting off, take every single opportunity that you can. Like, do not say no to anything. Like, literally just do it all, because every single experience, especially in the beginning, is going to teach you something, whether it's, you know, learning something on that day or meeting a new contact. Nothing is a waste of time. Nothing is considered a failure. It's just all about like perspective of where you are on the spectrum, where you are in that point of time, and like, oh, that didn't go well, so I'm going to work on that. But if you have nothing to gauge it by, and you just have like your mom and your dad telling you how great you are all the time, it's hard for you to really know in reality in the music industry in general, kind of where you fall on the spectrum. So like, nothing is perfect from day one. You have to always keep working at something. So being as open and as like out there as you possibly can, just to continue to better yourself as an artist. It's a never ending process, and you're always evolving. So just do everything you possibly can.
That is fantastic advice. And Justine, it's been an absolute blast. And I know we're running short on time here, but we end every podcast the same way. We call it the Final Four. And these questions are a little bit tougher just because they make you think a little bit, okay? Okay, here we go. Question 1. What are your 3 most recently played artists on your Spotify?
I don't have Spotify, so I don't support that platform. But anyway, I do have Amazon Music, and I love Megan Thee Stallion. I love her stuff. I also love a lot of like Christian music, like CCM stuff, just because I love the production of those artists, like Casting Crowns and Francesca Battistelli, and just all of those artists. And then I also really like anything like EDM or like dance music. So that's typically what I'm listening to.
Okay, how about this? Question 2. What is your favorite on-stage memory?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Okay, so my band is Lou Malich, Brian Jones, and Isaac Velasquez, and those are like some of my best friends. I still talk to them, but they've been with me for like going on 7 years. And so we've done literally like at least 1,000 shows together. It has to be at least. But we were playing on Broadway so much. But this one time, I can't even tell the story without laughing. It's so stupid, but like we were just one of those days where like this big group of fans came in and like all this bachelorette parties or whatever. And so my bass player, I don't remember what had went down, but no, I remember now. So I was just like in a goofy mood that day, and I pulled one of the girls up from the audience and I threw her on stage, and she just starts like grabbing my bass player. And I was literally like on the floor, like for 20 minutes, just like crying. Like I couldn't even perform. I couldn't even sing because it was just because he was like so embarrassed and so excited at the same time. It was just like, it was so funny. And I still remember that. And it's like, telling it back, it doesn't sound like that funny, but it was. He just had to have been there. It was hilarious.
Okay, here we go. Question 3. What is your favorite venue that you've ever played?
Man, these are all hard because there's so many great venues. So I've opened for a lot of artists, and there was this theater up in Michigan, and it was I opened for Kathy Mattea, and I honestly don't even remember the name of the theater, but it was just such a beautiful theater, and it was like a 2-story kind of like theater, and it was just this kind of place in Michigan. And so that's definitely up there. And then I also have sang the national anthem for a lot of sports teams. So I have sang for the Lucas Oil Stadium, like the very first year it opened in Indianapolis. Oh, and wow. So like I was one of the inaugural singers to sing the national anthem for the Colts for like 70,000 people. It was amazing. And so I did that. And then the last place I've played that I would definitely say like up there was actually I've been on stage at the Ryman. I was on stage at the Ryman for NAMM. So I was sponsored by Luna Guitars, and I was up on stage and I was showcasing one of the new guitars with Luna Guitars. And so that was really neat to be up there and just having that experience.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. If you could pick one thing for people to take away from this podcast or your music in general, what would it be?
Just the fact that, I am just trying, every day just to keep at it and, just make something happen, make music happen. And, just try to continue to inspire other people, just because we're living in a really tumultuous time right now. And I think all we can do is just support each other and inspire others. And through the power of music is, the best way to do that.
That is a fantastic message to leave everybody on. Justine, thank you so much for jumping on here. It's been a blast, and I can't wait for the music video on January 4th.
Absolutely. It's going to be premiering on the Country Network, so stay tuned. Wow. Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And that was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast. It's the country music podcast where you find new friends and new music like Justine Blazer and Just Sing.
Go tee off on the like button at facebook.com/Tea Party Podcast. This has been a Tea Party Communications production. Theme music created by Jesse Quandt. Announcer voiceovers by Jay Gwynn. And as always, hosted by Ty Pisani.